Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us from. This is episode 21 of the GrowthAmped Podcast series. And we are joined today by Britt Corsi, founder and CEO of EarthABC.
What's up?
And for our first time audience, we typically start this podcast with guest intros, followed by their company background, industry trends, current challenges, and we finally wrap up after talking about future goals. So without further ado, Britt, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, Ian. Thanks for asking me to join. Fun times.
Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is 4:15, but
Awesome. So the burning question I have is you haven't been active on LinkedIn in a long time. So where have you been hiding?
away from everyone. Yeah, I did not want to be on LinkedIn or really do professional socials anymore. It's kind of funny. I get bombarded with the sales outreach on LinkedIn, and it's kind of just debilitating where you don't want to do anything, you don't want to use any of it because you're just getting a ton of messages from people doing cold outreach. And I don't know, a mix between like that and just not being interested in posting as much anymore. I took a little hiatus for myself.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. We all get a ton of outreach. So I totally understand.
I know when I come back to LinkedIn, I'll have like 0 likes on my post because nobody will see it, but whatever.
Well, hopefully we can change that for you with this one.
We'll
So
see. Everybody will like delete, delete.
So yeah, I mean, talking about LinkedIn, you've got a pretty diverse LinkedIn journey when I took a look. So can you tell us a little bit about it and what problem were you trying to solve when you founded Earth ABC?
Okay, these are like multiples in one, just throwing them at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
First things first, I paid everybody to say that I worked for them. So none of
Okay.
it's real. I'm just kidding. No, I got into startups when I was really young, like 22, 23, and I had a really cool like kickoff of where I started. The first startup that I worked with was in like insurtech, and I remember interviewing and walking in, and it's like a foosball table, a ping pong table is the conference table. Like the person interviewing me at 12 in the afternoon is drinking a Bud Light. Like it was just wild.
Wow.
But it was such a good learning experience, and they kind of gave me carte blanche to move around the company and learn different areas. And so that was really where like I started my whole startup journey and technology and business, if you will, just because I had such a good mentor.
Great.
But it snowballed after that, really. Like it really just I became kind of addicted to startups and building things, and I wanted to prove myself so hard because I had such a chip on my shoulder for whatever reason. And so it just kept going into like finding other startups to help, and then it got to a point where they were like calling on me, right? Like, "Hey, we heard you did this. Would love for you to come here and help us." And so it was a really cool 10 years of bouncing around to different startups, but it is pretty diverse. I will tell you, like it's not a straight line where a lot of people are in like
Mhm.
marketing and they're in marketing straight for 15 years. I mean,
Right.
I did an insurtech company. The next one, I like built up a engineering consultancy in North America that got acquired by a German company. The next one was like blockchain in the auto world that went on to raise like, $50 million or something. And then got into marketing, got into energy. And I think you asked what I was trying to solve when I got into Earth
Yes.
ABC.
Yes.
Okay.
What was the problem you were trying to solve that led you to founding Earth ABC?
So in like 2020, we had COVID, right? So like we're in lockdowns for COVID. And it was well, I'll say this. My dad was going on like a 5-year cancer journey at that time, and it came to a head in 2020. So he passed away in February, and then we had the funeral. And a few weeks later, we're all in lockdowns, right? So like I'm by myself with my dog, I'm in lockdowns, and I'm just looking for things to do. So I started working on a bunch more projects. I was doing more animal welfare stuff with the ASPCA. I was doing leadership group projects in the city of Cleveland in Ohio. And I remember my buddy reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, this group called FedTech in DC is looking for entrepreneurs to pair up with NASA. I think you should really explore it." And so I did. I interviewed with them and they ended up assigning me with the climate data team out of Langley and with NASA. And so I started doing like commercialization research on raw data. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with raw data. guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of other people, they were paired up with like physical product. Like they had like the rover wheel from Mars, like all the like product. And they're like, we're going to give you raw data. And I'm like, cool. But looking back, I kind of understood why they gave it to me because I had been in software for so many years. But so that was kind of like the inception point, right? Like I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was going to be just like a cool little project for a few months. But it sent me down a rabbit hole during COVID where I was actively researching and investigating everything in energy, sustainability, agriculture, and all these different sectors because that's what the data was able to kind of gather from NASA.
Mhm.
And it just, for like a year straight, I remember waking up every morning, looking at all of the like energy investments, looking at what other countries are doing in energy and agriculture and sustainability, and initially, like, I thought the data was just gonna predict, like, the weather patterns of solar and agriculture and what people could do with that data, and then eventually, as I kept building and I was talking to NASA and the Department of Energy about incentives for corporations to take action, the IRA came about, and then we started focusing on building this platform that would help companies connect the opportunities they're looking for between the government grants and incentives that are available through to the suppliers who are actually able to help them carry out their projects. And that's kind of where I started um, in 2020, and I guess it's been a long time since then.
Yeah, that's quite a story, especially, you felt like the kid that was missing out on the cool toys that you could touch and feel with NASA. You were handed the data, right? Like, hey, this is your toy. So
Yeah,
make
pretty
what you may
much.
of it. Okay. Well, yeah, that's very interesting adventure, and I guess how different was this from what you had done prior to the engagement with NASA?
And like other startups that I worked with,
Yeah, just nature of this project versus what you'd done prior to.
it was very similar. The only difference was that I like let myself go down the rabbit hole so deeply without any rails because usually with when I'm working for somebody else, like I have to put guardrails up for myself so
Right.
that I'm not like my brain isn't going down these winding roads that eventually are brilliant, but you have to be very specific when you're working for someone else. And so that was the difference where I could kind of just like let my brain free fall and explore the technology and innovation and figuring out product side was very similar to other roles and companies that I had been in. But the difference here this time was that I kind of was not the person behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're working for another company, you can kind of bring them everything and then they go run with it. Whereas like I brought it to myself and then I was like, well now what? Right? And that was hard for me because I really liked being behind the curtain for a bit and just like being figuring stuff out and then bringing it to the front and then having to actually this time like also run the rest of the race and be the person on the front lines communicating and then figuring out like the sales and the business, the fundraising all at once. Like that was a lot. I will be honest, that was a lot. I don't think I had any sort of life beyond startup networking building product team for a few years.
Wow. That's yeah, quite the learning experience. So tell us a little bit more about, what's the what's the road ahead for Earth ABC?
Good question. So following Techstars, so we did Techstars in 2023 into Alabama, did the program. From there, once we got out of Techstars, we focused more on leveraging AI into what we were building. Oh, 2024, 25, 2025, we were focused on AI, right? And the work that we were doing was so closely to the consultancies and to the companies who were building and executing in the market that we leveraged that opportunity to figure out how we could fit in and build things within those processes and systems and flow and workflows, right? A lot of people
Mhm.
were getting out of Techstars and just in general from like an MVP perspective, right? They're like, let's focus on one specific thing, dial into it, generate sales, generate business. And that's usually how a startup operates. But I kind of saw a different picture and maybe I'm wrong for it. I guess we'll find out soon. I focused more on how do we go the fullest extent into the entire ecosystem of the market and focus on different applications that we can create. And so what we ended up with is a climate operating system that has multiple applications that achieve various different things, right? So, like, one of them is like an RFP generator without human intervention. We have our own AI that I named AWA just because I loved Avatar so much, and maybe I'll get sued for it one day. Who knows? Like, cross my fingers if they sue me. Like, that'll be the story of my life if Avatar ever sues me. I'd be so lucky. But we have a bunch of other stuff in there that fits in with like city municipalities who want to develop programs in the city, consultancies, and people who are looking for suppliers and incentives. I mean, we just kind of like mapped out as many applications as possible so that it could be a complete system for anybody in climate to start doing work, right? And I originally thought, like, okay, we'll just, go and sell our product to different consultancies because if they have this, they can open up their market share to the smaller and larger businesses, or they can
Mhm.
white label it out to their clients, right? And I think it was like August 2025 it came around, and I started thinking a little bit more after having a conversation with a pretty big consultancy. I won't say names, but I found out that we were a few years ahead of some of the things that the consultancies are trying to work on from a tech perspective, especially with AI and in sustainability and climate. And it kind of recalibrated me to think, do I really want to spend the next 5 years raising capital and trying to sell to consultancies if there's a consultancy that's interested in acquiring us?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where it shifted in August. And since then, it's been a lot of thinking for me, if I'm being honest. I feel like I've, like let my team down for making this kind of decision. Um, like disappoint the trajectory that I was on with investors. I don't know, but all I've been thinking about is, do I want to spend 5 to 10 years fundraising, building, competing in the market, or do I want to get everybody a payout and take an acquisition for Earth ABC and put it in a place where it's going to succeed because it has more money, because it has a bigger entity, it has the data it needs that we built it for. So that's kind of where things have been, and probably why you haven't seen me on LinkedIn as much because I'm not out there trying to talk to anyone.
Yeah. This almost it sounds like you've had a foster puppy for a long time, and uh, one day it's like, hey, I think the puppy's going to be happier with the new home, and
Yeah.
you've got the memories, you've got all the sleepless nights, and all the cleanup and rinse and repeat, and you know it's time for it to find a forever home.
Yeah. It is time for Earth to have its forever home.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna make this comment earlier, but it does seem, yes, AI has been around for a while, but not as maturely, right? But
Mhm.
when you look at it, here's from one dog lover to another, right? It just seems like AI is growing in dog years, or we're progressing in human years,
Mhm.
right? Pretty much.
Yeah, I have a hard time having conversations with some people who are like super obsessed with AI right now. But I mean, what are you going to do? Everybody's a human.
Correct.
I don't want to say anything bad. I'm going to pause.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so next obvious question is, you're selling a climate startup, and well, most founders would double down, right?
Yeah.
And you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but at what point did you decide to say, "Yeah, I think this is a better move"? Everybody is, they might not be happy with it right now, but they will when this goes through.
Yeah. You know what? It was a mixture of things. It was like my age, you think about it and you're like, do I want to get married? Do I want to have kids? Like, this is a big thing for, I think, for women founders, especially because I started later and the climate space is predominantly led by men. So there's that, which I don't really care, but it's just a factor. And then I thought, there's other things that really pulled at my heart more at this time that I wanted to really focus on.
Mhm.
And I think kind of weighing those things out and thinking, where do I really want to spend my time these next few years? I think the animal welfare side pulled me in much more than the climate side did. And I feel like we have such an amazing group of people fighting in climate and sustainability. Like it has exponentially grown since 2014 when the OGs were in there playing in the field and none of us even knew what was going on. And then 2020 hit and it just kind of flipped and everybody started focusing on climate and sustainability. And so I have a lot of trust and appreciation for the people who are doing this hard work in climate. All the people I went to Techstars with, all the people in my network who helped me, who I talked to, all the people who were on conversations with climate founders, and even like the OGs that have, helped connect me into the markets, like Dimitri and Zeka and all these people from the spaces that I was just getting into made a place for me. And I don't know, I just have so much faith, and I know that like we created something, but like I'm not imperative to the system. And I think what I wanted to do is make sure that I focused in an area that I could be imperative to, um, and really be a catalyst for change. And then I think me kind of pivoting into the animal welfare space, which was where I was before the NASA
Yeah.
projects,
Yeah.
is where I should be, and what I've secretly been doing.
Nice. I'm really excited to learn more about that. But one more question before we segue into that.
Okay.
Do you expect? All right, you ready? All right. Do you expect the consulting markets to invest in tech to remain competitive as climate and sustainability markets shift?
I think they'll have to. Yeah, I think they'll have to. I think they probably have like a lot of great intelligent people internally, but they're probably always focused on initiatives inside the consultancy, right? And that's great because you know exactly what you want to build, whether it's for like tax law or the audit side of a company or the consulting aspect or whatever it may be, because they'll know what they should be building. But there's going to be some companies that they're going to want to acquire because it fits into their system. It prevents other consultancies from obtaining market share, right? Which is like if you have big money, that's the kind of moves you make, right? Like you prevent other companies from doing things to outpace you.
Yeah.
And so I really do think we're in like a downturn. Well, I say that with caution. We're in a movement downturn, but not a business downturn from a climate and sustainability perspective, right? Like with the administration, with the IRA and all that stuff
Yep.
changing. It's not booming, it's not in your face. It's not we're spending millions of dollars in climate, right?
Right.
Like it's
Right.
not like that at this moment, but that secretly gives these consulting companies a couple years to get it together and to come out with a bang in a couple of years when it is in your face and when the movement's like really rallying. But don't get me wrong, all of the people who are working on climate are still working on climate.
Right. And it's not a seasonal thing or a state of the market dependent factor because the climate is the climate, right?
I think both of those are true though. Like it is a season, it is a thing of the season. Get it? You didn't get it. It's okay. I've had a margarita. You've not had a margarita. The jokes
I
aren't joking.
no, I hear you. I catch it. Yeah, time of year.
So I don't know, I think it's just less as apparent. Like normally from an investment perspective, like you'd pull out the highs and lows of different seasonalities and then the investments and stuff, but since we're not in a like climate sustainability boom right now, like nobody's paying
Sure.
attention to the same things that they'd be paying
Yeah.
attention to if we were in that movement aspect. And so it's just like it's not talked about. It's still there, it's just not being directly highlighted anymore, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I don't know if this is true, but as somebody in the industry, you could probably say, right, do we do half as much as, the Europeans are doing or others they're doing as far as climate, the climate is concerned? Or are we doing it? We're just not talking about it. Where do you feel we're at?
Well, it's both, right? Because we're not dramatically focused on climate and sustainability like we were with the last administration. Like that was the focal point, right? And there may have been a few billions of dollars hidden in other areas as part of it, but it was the focus point, or at least that's what they made it appear to be. Europe has definitely always been ahead of sustainability action and culture and all of the things that like keep them sustainable, but they have to be, you know. They're a lot smaller. They have to be that way if we're being honest. Their reserves are not set up the way ours are. But from a United States perspective, we have ironically like doubled down on climate and sustainability by focusing on AI. So like it's really crazy because we were at this inflection point of climate and sustainability is so important, and then everybody's losing their minds about AI. But every time you search something on AI, you're literally using a gallon of water. Like a search, you could say, "What's the weather today?" to AI, gallon of water gone. Can you pull the letter for me using this template? Gallon of water gone.
Sure.
Right? And you can imagine
Yeah.
like every 16-year-old in their room is asking the dumbest questions they could think of, on top of like me as a professional using it in my career to do the work that I am supposed to be doing. Just kidding.
Yeah.
but, but so we doubled down and we've actually, like, to our own detriment, have hurt ourselves from a climate and sustainability perspective by leveraging and focusing this much in AI. The data centers, the water. If you look at a lot of the companies that are positioning their data centers, the big companies are moving them to areas that are more eastern based because the western states are experiencing droughts. They can't get the water. The heat is too much. And the East Coast is kind of like silly in their head, thinking that it's like a win for them that this big entity wants to move there, instead of saying, "Oh no, they're like using up our water reserves and we're giving them tax breaks and it's actually better for them," but they think it's a win. And so it's kind of like this funny amalgamation of us screwing ourselves while investing in technology at the same time. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out in the next 4 or 5 years which way that pendulum moves, right?
People are going to watch this and be like, "She's a Looney Tune."
Well, yeah.
I don't
It's so
care.
much for adding a post to your LinkedIn after a long hiatus, right?
And maybe maybe people will watch it and be like, "Okay,
This time next week, we'll see where it's at.
okay."
So, talking about your something you're more passionate about, animal welfare.
Uh,
Tell me what you've been working on. Spill the beans. I guess let's do that.
okay, so nobody knows yet.
Okay.
This is gonna be like your coming out my
Surprise.
coming a surprise. This is what's happening. I've left the climate world for what I love. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I had been focused on animal welfare since I was a kid, and I originally wanted to be like a veterinarian, then a lawyer to focus on animal law, and then technology. And so I spent a lot of time on the research side, did research with the ASPCA, uncovering like breeding and registrations with the USDA, which is pretty bad. And stuff like puppy mills and just abuse cases, right? And where I'm from in Ohio is so prevalent of puppy mills because you have the Amish. And the Amish, contrary to their wonderful blueberry muffins, are thorns in the system of animal welfare. And so I was focused on building something in the space, and it was kind of like your registration system, if you will, right? And
Oh yeah.
I don't want to go too much into that because that one is um, still a work in progress, right? I mean, it's up there, but I want to protect it because I feel like things are
Yeah.
easy to be stolen.
Yep.
But what I'm doing right now is I'm traveling state to state and I'm working on a documentary. And I'm going to shelters, I'm going to rescues, I'm meeting with animal advocates, and we're telling the stories of everything that's happening in reality, right? Because a lot of people, they might see like pictures here and there on social media or like see a donation or something like that, but they don't really know what's going on, the
Yep.
extent of it, and how bad it is, and what reform is needed, what funding is needed. And so right now I'm in New Mexico, and by the time anybody watches this, I'll probably be in a different state. And like today, I spent part of the day recording in an animal shelter and an animal clinic. I was able to see surgeries of all the spays and neuters that they're doing to prevent all of the puppies, which I went into their shelter and literally saw like 10 kennels of full litters of puppies. And
Wow.
it's just
It's
sickening. It's so
heartbreaking.
sad. It's so sad. And I want to take half the puppies with me. Um, but this is why I'm doing it, because we need to create awareness, we need education, and we need some things
Mhm.
to change. And so that's kind of where my heart's at right now.
Okay. Yeah. To- I'm with you. I'll say this, right? As an early riser, when I'm working out in the wee hours of the morning, there's only two types of ads that run on TV. One is for old people having a fall, and the second thing is puppies in distress.
Sarah
So,
McLaughlin, is that the
arms
in
of an
the
angel.
arms? of the
Yeah,
angels
exactly.
far away.
So yeah, it's real. The struggle is real, and you know, I wish we could fix it. But the next question is
Mhm.
about a magic wand. If
I
you
wish
had
I had
one,
one.
what's one thing that you would change in your business pursuits or just philanthropically, given this breaking news that you shared with us?
Breaking
What's yeah,
breaking news.
yeah,
Make sure you put, like, a little thing on there that's like, breaking news.
ticker, yeah,
It's if I had to, wave a magic wand, it would be that the system isn't what it is right now, that we actually cared enough to make system changes that are quite silly that we haven't because they're so easy. But realistically, from what I'm doing and what's going on, if I were to wave a magic wand, it would just be to have another team again. With Earth ABC, we were able to achieve such cool stuff because we had such a cool team, such experienced and intelligent and creative and interested in what we're doing people. And I think, you know, I can self fund the animal documentary and tech as much as I need to. But if there is a team of people that can do marketing and social media and film editing and outreach to different communities or somebody at Hulu or Netflix, right? Like just a wide
yes,
variety of just a
sure,
team, you know, that wants to do something meaningful, that wants to do something that has impact. That's where these kinds of projects really thrive. It's not we raised 200 million. I mean, of course, if we had $200 million, this would be easy, right?
yeah,
But sans that, you have the people who wanna do good. That's all you really need is good people.
yeah, for sure. No, it's been great getting to know all the different sides of your career and where you're headed, and for what it's worth, you've done it once with Earth ABC. I'm sure you'll be able to do it again in the next, in your next venture.
We'll
You'll
see.
find the town.
I think if anything, it teaches you more going through it at least once or twice, but the founder journey is not something that I think of lightly, and when people take it up,
Yeah,
I wish them the
yeah,
best and hope for them all the success because it is, it's not an easy path. It's not an easy path. It's like playing the video game of life on the hardest setting. Do you
yeah.
know?
I hear you. Yes, I absolutely know the challenges of that. So, yeah, thank you so much for opening up and sharing with our audience. What your absence has led to. Your online absence has led to.
Secrets or keep them
Yes.
secrets.
Yeah. Is
You've
there
uncovered and now you've uncovered them.
yes, breaking news.
Is there what?
I was gonna ask you, is there any closing message you would like to share through our podcast for all our audience out there?
I don't know if I have like a specific message today. I think I am the type of person that if somebody brings something up, I'll have some words of wisdom for them. So please, if you're not a sales rep, giving me a cold message on LinkedIn. But if you do have a question about building something or where you're at or thoughts or strategies, I'm happy to talk about that kind of stuff all the time. But sometimes you really just have to like chill out and have a margarita and give yourself a break. So I guess that's my message.
Awesome. Wise words. Everybody can use a margarita, you know, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Unless you're an alcoholic, then you cannot use a margarita. Please do not take my advice.
Well, hey, it's been awesome, getting to know your journey and where you guys are headed, and we wish you nothing but luck in your next endeavor. And here at Growth Amped, right, we're constantly talking to a lot of founders such as yourself that have made an impact, and we're always learning from these stories and sharing with our audience. So really appreciate you being part of this journey for us as well.
I appreciate being part of your journey and you being part of mine as well.
Thank you so much, Britt.
Thanks, Ion.
Thank you. All right.